Stan Jabalisco here with a little extra episode that I wasn't planning on putting in for the Arduino Odyssey. What you're looking at is little cut up pieces of Velcro that I, with my big, fat, arthritic fingers, which sometimes aren't entirely and perfectly stable, cut up with great effort in such a way as to more effectively stick the little Arduino board down on this Vilrose plastic mounting pad, or well, it's not really a pad, it's kind of like, well, I don't know what you would call it, kind of like a tray. And then next to it, note this breadboard and note the resemblance to the large wooden breadboard with nails pounded into it. I mean, you know, the size changes, but the basic concept remains the same. You can refer to all of these A, B, C, D, E up through J, so there's 10 rows and 30 columns for a total of 300 holes if my multiplication is correct, and then there's some extra holes here. Now I want you to take a look at this, and these little holes is where you put the little resistors or diodes or other components. You stick their leads in there, and I want you to compare the size of my fingers with the size of those holes, and I want you to tell me why they make these things so bloody small, as if miniaturization was some sort of a religion. They could make it, this thing is about, I'd say 2 inches wide by 3 inches high. How many centimeters is that? 5 by 7.5 centimeters, something like that. Now, why they couldn't make it 10 by 15 centimeters instead? I guess, though, that the modern components really are this small. You know, some of these transistors and things like that. And putting those on that breadboard with nails is quite a challenge sometimes because the leads aren't long enough. But the point is, what you're looking at here, look at my fingers. It's almost as though you're looking at this scene through a magnifying glass, and I guess it's a mighty good thing I've got a magnifying glass down there in the nerd cave so that I can see what I'm doing. Then the question of getting it in the right holes and managing to have my big fat fingers navigate their way through this little stuff, well, you know, I guess life is full of challenges. I'm kind of looking forward to this, but at the same time, as you might by now have guessed, to a certain extent, the actual experiments and programming I'm kind of putting off, because I'm really not much of a programmer. But then again, some of the lines in some of these programs and some of the routines remind me of stuff I did in, I think it was probably 10th or 11th grade, the 1970s. We had a little calculator called a Wang, W-A-N-G. I don't know if any of you can remember that, if you're old enough to remember that. But in any case, that little Wang thing, now it looks like I've got this thing upside down on here, but I used Velcro, so it's easy enough to just switch them around. But who cares? I mean, as long as the wires reach, who cares? Looks pretty good to me. So I guess now, but remember that Wang? I made, you know, we had to punch little cards and make little programs, and I managed to make that little Wang, which was kind of like a calculator, into a timer. And so this is sort of the same sort of a deal. It's just that we've got a lot more powerful tools today. Kids are a lot luckier today than they were in my day. What they do with that luck is another story. Until the next episode, where I may actually get into the real nitty-gritty of this, finally. Stan Gibilisco signing out and saying, so long.